When La Revuelta aired that night, nobody expected the storm that was coming. Yaman's emotional confession, his trembling voice, his eyes full of regret, and his quiet words, "Love was my biggest mistake," echoed through millions of screens across Spain, Turkey, and Italy. The world stopped for a moment. But now, for the first time since that unforgettable interview, Demet Özdemir has broken her silence. The headlines exploded again, world in shock. Demet fires back after Yaman's viral monologue on La Revuelta. Of him. "I'll say this once," Demet finally responds. It had been nearly a week since Can's interview left everyone in tears. Fans were still analyzing every word, every pause, every breath. But the one question that dominated social media was, what will Demet say? For 6 days, she said nothing. No interviews, no posts, no comments. Her silence was louder than any statement could have been. And just when everyone thought she would stay quiet forever, she appeared. It was a live appearance on a Turkish entertainment program, Akşam Sohbeti, a soft-tone talk show that rarely made headlines. But that night, with Demet on stage, the world was watching. She entered the studio with calm grace, dressed simply, white blouse, black pants, minimal makeup. But behind that serene smile was something unspoken, something waiting to surface. The host, Ice Kara, began gently, aware that the entire internet was hanging on every word. "Demet, I know it's not easy to ask, but after La Revuelta, everyone is wondering, have you seen Can's interview?" Demet smiled faintly, her fingers playing with the ring on her hand. "Yes," she said softly. "I watched it. Twice." The studio went still. The camera zoomed in, her eyes were glistening, her voice steady but fragile. "I didn't expect him to say those things," she continued. "Not after so long, but I think sometimes people need to speak to find peace." The host leaned forward carefully. "He said love was his biggest mistake. Do you think he meant you?" Demet hesitated, just for a heartbeat, and then took a deep breath. "He didn't have to say my name. Everyone understood who he meant. And that's okay." Her voice trembled slightly, but she didn't break. Instead, she looked right into the camera and said, "We were two people who gave the best and the worst of ourselves to something beautiful. That's not a mistake. That's life." The audience applauded softly, not out of curiosity, but out of respect. But then, Ice asked the question that turned the calm conversation into a headline storm. "If you could speak to him right now, after what he said, what would you tell him?" Demet looked down for a long moment. Her lips parted, but no words came. And then finally, she whispered, "Of him. I'll say this once. I wish he had told me those words in person, not to the world." The audience gasped. The host froze. Even the producers behind the camera stopped breathing. It was a sentence filled with pain, love, and an ocean of unfinished feelings. Within minutes, the clip went viral. #Demet responds to Can became the top trend on X worldwide. Millions of fans reposted her words, quoting the line that had broken the internet. "I wish he had told me those words in person, not to the world." Italian, Spanish, and Turkish outlets published translations in every language. Demet Özdemir's emotional response to Yaman's confession, "He should have told me, not the world." On Instagram, her fan accounts flooded with messages, "She still feels it. This is not anger, it's heartbreak. You can see the love that never left her eyes." Meanwhile, Yaman's fans were torn apart. Some defended him, others begged him to reply. But he didn't. For the first time, Can remained silent. No posts, no interviews, just silence. That silence spoke volumes. Demet's interview ended quietly. Before leaving, she turned to the host and said something that left everyone speechless. "People think silence means indifference. But sometimes, it means the story still matters, too much to explain." And with that, she walked off the stage, calm, graceful, untouchable. But backstage, one of the show's assistants saw her wipe away a tear. The cameras didn't catch that moment. But the internet somehow felt it. The morning after Demet's interview, Europe woke up to chaos. Every entertainment outlet, from La Repubblica in Italy to El Mundo in Spain, was screaming the same headline: Demet Özdemir responds to Yaman's confession, "He should have told me, not the world." Clips from her appearance spread across every platform within hours. Turkish fans subtitled it in English and Spanish. Italian bloggers analyzed every facial expression. The moment where she looked down, paused, and whispered of him. "I'll say this once" was replayed on loop in countless edits, each one set to heartbreak music. But while the world was dissecting her every word, one person remained completely silent: Yaman. His team received hundreds of interview requests. Journalists camped outside his home in Rome, waiting for any sign of a reaction. But the actor stayed out of sight. For nearly 48 hours, nothing. No posts, no sightings, no statements. Then, late at night, something unexpected happened. Around 2:17 a.m. Italian time, fans noticed that Can had briefly gone live on Instagram, for less than a minute. Only a few hundred people managed to join before it ended, but those who did described the same surreal scene: Can sitting in the dark, wearing a hoodie, staring at the camera silently. Behind him, soft music played. "Fix You" by Coldplay. He didn't say a word. He just nodded once, and ended the live. The clip went viral instantly. People slowed it down, analyzed every frame, every blink. One fan wrote, "He looked heartbroken. You could feel it through the screen." Another commented, "He doesn't need to speak. His silence is louder than any statement." By morning, the live had already been deleted, but screenshots and recordings flooded the internet. The hashtag #CanYamanLive reached 15 million mentions in under 6 hours. Meanwhile, an Italian paparazzi site published photos of Can the next morning, walking alone near the Tiber River, wearing sunglasses and headphones, his face pale and distant. A journalist called out to him, "Can, have you seen what Demet said about you?" He didn't answer. He just gave a small, tired smile and said quietly, "Sometimes words aren't needed." Those 5 words became another wave of speculation. Turkish media titled it, "Can Yaman's mysterious response, sometimes words aren't needed." But the real story was happening behind the scenes. Sources close to La Revuelta revealed that Can had refused all new interviews. "He doesn't want to talk," one producer said. "He said he already said everything that mattered." His manager, however, made one brief statement to Corriere dello Spettacolo: "Can is fine. He respects Demet deeply. But some stories belong only to 2 people. Not to the world." The line echoed Demet's own words from the night before: "He should have told me, not the world." Fans immediately drew the connection. Was this Can's indirect apology? His way of saying she was right? Then came the twist. A popular Spanish entertainment page, Corazon Urbano, shared an anonymous tip. Someone close to Demet says she received a private message from Can. The internet exploded. Nobody knew what the message said, and neither of them confirmed it. But speculation spread like wildfire. A few hours later, Demet posted something unexpected on her Instagram story. It wasn't a quote or a picture of herself, it was a photo of a small notebook, open on a blank page. In the corner, one faintly visible sentence was written in Turkish: "Batsi sazlar gc kalır ama yayında dogru olur." Some words arrive late, but they're still true. No caption. No emoji. No tag. Within seconds, fans connected it to Can's deleted live and his manager's statement. This is her answer to him. They're speaking in silence again. It's like watching 2 souls talk without words. By the next morning, People Turkey ran with a new headline: "Reconnected in silence, Can and Demet exchange messages the world can't hear." And while neither confirmed it, insiders close to both claimed that something had shifted. Demet's closest friend reportedly told Sözcü magazine, "She's not angry anymore. She just wants peace." As for Can, a crew member from his new project in Italy said, "He's calmer these days. He spends more time writing, less time talking. But sometimes he just stares at his phone and smiles, quietly. It seemed that after all the noise, the pain, and the confessions, the only thing left between them was quiet understanding. But that calm wouldn't last for long. Because a single leaked image, just a few days later, would set the internet ablaze once again. 3 days after Demet's cryptic notebook story, the calm that had blanketed social media shattered. It started with a single blurry image, posted anonymously on a Spanish entertainment blog called El Foco de la Fama. The caption was simple: Rome, last night. The photo showed a familiar figure walking out of a quiet cafe near Piazza Navona. The man wore a dark coat, head bowed, but his profile was unmistakable: Yaman. Beside him, under the soft golden lights of the street, was a woman with long hair tied loosely, her hand brushing his arm as they walked side by side. The face wasn't perfectly clear, but the fans knew. Within minutes, every zoomed-in, filtered, AI-enhanced version of the picture hit the internet. Comments poured in faster than wildfire: "It's her. It's Demet. No way, that's the same jacket she wore in Istanbul last week. This can't be a coincidence. Look at their hands." Hashtags like #CanAnDemet in Rome and #Back Together trended in Turkey, Spain, and Italy simultaneously. By noon, the photo had over 12 million retweets and had been shared by every major gossip account across Europe. Even reputable outlets like La Repubblica and Ola ran with the story: Yaman and Demet Özdemir spotted together in Rome, private reunion or coincidence? But the truth behind the photo was far less dramatic, and far more emotional. Later that day, an insider from La Revuelta revealed that both Can and Demet had been invited to a charity gala hosted by the same network in Rome. They weren't supposed to appear together publicly. The network had arranged separate arrival times, but fate, or maybe something stronger, had other plans. The two crossed paths outside the venue: no cameras, no press, just them. Witnesses said Demet was leaving early, Can was just arriving. They stopped. Looked at each other for a few seconds that felt like an eternity. And then, Can smiled first. Demet smiled back. According to one staff member nearby, Can had simply said, "Rome again, funny how it always brings us face to face." Demet laughed softly, replying, "Maybe Rome remembers what we try to forget." The conversation lasted barely 2 minutes. But someone, somewhere, snapped that one photo. A fleeting, almost sacred moment turned into an internet explosion. When Demet saw the image go viral, her team immediately contacted her, asking if they should issue a denial. But she said no. She didn't want to feed the fire. Instead, that night, she posted something else. A black and white photo of the Tiber River, calm and reflective. In the corner, she wrote one line: "Some moments don't belong to cameras." The post reached over 5 million likes in 2 hours. Across the sea, in Italy, Yaman finally broke his silence. He posted an old photo of the same river, from years ago, captioned, "Peace feels familiar." The world didn't need confirmation. Everyone already knew. Their posts mirrored each other: same tone, same timing, same meaning. Even the media stopped pushing for drama. Vanity Fair Italia titled its cover story, "From Passion to Peace, Can and Demet's Unspoken Understanding." But behind the elegance and quiet grace of their gestures, emotions still ran deep. A Turkish reporter close to Demet revealed, "She's not pretending to be strong. She is strong." But when she saw the photo, she cried. She said, "People will never understand that peace can hurt as much as love." Meanwhile, Can was spotted at a gym in Rome a few days later. A fan who met him said he was kind but distant, smiling politely, yet his eyes seemed tired. When the fan asked about Demet, he smiled faintly and said, "Some people stay with you even when they're gone." That line alone broke the internet again. Clips, montages, and fan edits filled TikTok and YouTube. Edits titled "Peace Hurts Too" or "Rome Remembers Them" reached millions of views. In a matter of days, what began as another rumor became something deeper, a collective realization that maybe this wasn't a love story ending in drama, but in understanding. And yet, something in Demet's latest interview hinted that this piece might not be the end. When a reporter asked her if she would ever work with Can again, she smiled, but her answer wasn't what anyone expected. "If fate brings us together again," she said, "I won't run away this time." The audience gasped. The reporter smiled nervously. "So you're saying there's a chance?" Demet paused, looked away for a second, and whispered, just loud enough for the mic to catch. "There's always a chance when the story never really ended." And with that, she stood up, thanked the audience, and walked away. The applause followed her long after she left the stage. Weeks passed, yet the world couldn't move on. Every magazine cover, every talk show segment, every YouTube edit still revolved around two names, Yaman and Demet Özdemir. Both had returned to work. Both pretended that life was normal. But everyone who had followed their story could see it. The quiet echoes of something unfinished, something still alive beneath the surface. Then came the moment no one expected, Yaman's exclusive sit-down interview with El Diario Español, recorded in Madrid. It was supposed to be about his new project, a Spanish-Italian co-production, but the conversation took a turn no one could predict. The interviewer, Carlos Menendez, leaned forward and said what everyone wanted to ask: "Can, forgive me, but the world still remembers La Revuelta." And everything that followed. "Do you think you've made peace with Demet Özdemir?" Can smiled, but it wasn't the charming, practiced smile fans were used to. It was small, tired, sincere. "Peace is a complicated word," he said softly. "Sometimes peace is harder than war." The interviewer didn't interrupt. The silence stretched. Ken continued, "People saw our love as a show. But for us, it was never about the cameras. What we had was real, even if it ended where it did. I think love doesn't disappear, it changes shape. Sometimes, it becomes forgiveness." The audience in the studio was silent. Then Carlos asked, "If you could tell her one thing now, off camera, what would it be?" Can's voice broke just a little as he replied, "That I finally understand what love really means. It's not about holding on, it's about wishing someone happiness, even if it's not with you." The interviewer looked stunned. And for the first time in his career, Yaman's eyes filled with tears. The video aired the next evening. Within an hour, it was trending in 23 countries. Clips flooded social media with captions like, "Yaman's tearful definition of love breaks the internet. He still loves her, but in silence." And yet, what happened after the broadcast was even more powerful. Turkish media reported that Demet Özdemir had been filming nearby when the interview aired. Someone from the crew said she watched it during a break, quietly, alone in her trailer. According to that witness, Demet didn't speak for several minutes after the clip ended. She simply looked at the screen, wiped her cheek, and whispered, "He finally said it." The next morning, Demet posted a single Instagram story. It wasn't a selfie, not a quote, just a blurry sunrise taken from her window. On it, she wrote, "Some endings are just love changing its form." Fans instantly recognized the connection, her words mirrored his. It was as if they were still speaking the same language, even from different worlds. In Italy, reporters asked Ken if he'd seen her post. He smiled faintly and replied, "Yes. And she's right. Love doesn't die, it just learns to be quiet." That quote spread everywhere. Vanity Fair España called it the most poetic goodbye ever broadcast. But for those who had followed their story from the beginning, it didn't feel like goodbye. It felt like something gentler: acceptance, healing, peace. Weeks later, during the closing gala of La Revuelta, Ken was invited as a special guest. As he walked onto the stage, the audience erupted. The host jokingly asked, "You know, people still talk about that night. About love, regret, and forgiveness. So tell us, Ken, do you believe love can return?" Ken paused, then smiled. The same quiet, honest smile that had melted millions before. "Maybe love never leaves," he said. "It just waits for the right moment to be understood." The crowd applauded for almost a full minute. As the show ended and cameras faded to black, the screen displayed one closing quote chosen by the producers, something Ken had written in his notebook after the interview: "Real love doesn't demand, it remembers. It forgives. It endures in silence." The image faded to black. And somewhere, across the sea, Demet watched the replay from her living room. No tears this time, just a calm smile. She whispered something only she could hear: "Now, I can finally let him go." Her phone buzzed moments later. A message, no name, no signature, just 6 words: "Thank you for still believing in love." She didn't reply. She didn't need to. The silence said everything. Outside, the sun rose over Istanbul. Inside, for both of them, the storm had finally passed.